All right, we will call the February 22nd Crow Wing County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. If you'd please join us for the pledge and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next item on today's agenda is open forum. If there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak towards something not on today's agenda.
I think she has.
I do have the form for Doug Kern.
Okay.
Yeah, Doug Kern, Crow Wing Township. Sorry, running a little late here.
Starting a county board meeting, I gotta let you go.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Whoop.
Oh,
He's
there
gone.
it is. Yeah, we're blessed with snow this morning. So, yeah, it's Minnesota. Anyway, talking about the forensic audit that we requested, and we are counting on you commissioners as far as stepping up and doing your job. Last meeting, we were supposed to have a get-together with Doug and Paul, and thank you, Paul, for giving me a call back. It was nice to get a call from Paul and saying you can call me anytime, and I know that I can call you guys. I know I can call him anytime. I got his phone number. But anyway, we still haven't had that meeting. So I would request that meeting with Doug, Commissioner Doug and Commissioner Paul, because this still really concerns me. The evidence that we had that was brought forward, it appears like the State Secretary Office, the Secretary of State, Steve Simons, didn't look at it, and you guys didn't look at it. So it'd be really awesome to have a meeting with you guys. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else here towards open forum? Seeing none, we will move on to the review and approval of the February 8th County Board meeting.
Make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Oh, you know what I forgot to do?
Roll call.
Sorry.
So
it's
did
just, poof. Okay, so first I'm gonna just make sure everyone's here. Who's here? So I'm gonna call roll. So Commissioner Coring,
I'm here.
Commissioner Brecken,
Here?
Commissioner Barrows,
Here.
Commissioner Hoag,
Here,
and Commissioner Franzine is absent today.
thank you.
Thank you. So, and now it was
We have a
Steve,
motion
or
by Mr. Barrows, second by Mr. Brecken.
Brecken,
And
okay.
roll call, please.
All right. Commissioner Brecken,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag.
Aye, motion passes. Item 4 is review and approve today's agenda. Is there any additions?
Mr. Chair, I think we're going to move a couple of items in the land services report around, but still within item 10, so I think it's fine.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'd so move.
Motion by Commissioner Brecken,
Second.
second by Commissioner Coring. Treese.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Brecken,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag.
Aye. Motion passes. Item 5 is the consent agenda. Any questions, concerns, comments? Nope.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Commissioner Barrows,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Brecken. Treese.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Brecken,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag.
Aye. Item 6, IT Director. Out-of-state travel. Oh, there we are.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioners. Yeah, this is a request for out-of-state travel to go to a GIS conference. We have not sent anybody to a GIS conference since 2019. We have attended them virtually the last couple of years, but this is we're requesting to go to there's two options on the table this morning. One is San Diego, which is a little bit more expensive than the Chicago one. Our preference is the San Diego one because that's a 4-day conference versus the 2-day in Chicago. So it would be a little bit more money, but I think it's important for us to send people to these conferences from time to time to gain that knowledge. We're heavily invested in GIS here at the county. Again, this is a request for that out-of-state travel.
Mr. Chairman.
Paul?
Yeah, Jay, how much is it? And I gotta have a little more explanation of why it's so important. I guess in the past, if somebody was gonna go and get the training and come back and train the rest of the staff, I guess I could agree with that. But I gotta have a little bit more of an explanation and how much it is.
I don't have the request right in front of me. The biggest expense is probably the travel to get out there. The airfare and stuff for the conference itself is I don't know, Nate's on here too. Maybe he can, if he remembers the number, but we're heavily invested, like the snowplow application, some of the stuff we're doing land services, all that stuff is GIS related, our map stuff. So it's important for us to keep current on that technology, see what's coming down the road, see what's going to be easier for our constituents to use GIS. So I think it's really important for us to attend these things, and also to the in-person option. There's value being to actually be there with your peers and talk to them directly.
Mr. Chair, Debbie's got her hand up.
Debbie?
Mr. Chair, one thing, Commissioner Coring, we only have one GIS technician here, or one GIS coordinator here at the county. So in this particular instance, with a lot of our trainings that we have, because we are somewhat specialized with a small team, this is a situation where the attendee will be gathering the information at the conference and coming back and doing some training with our help desk techs, with some of our other folks, to make sure that they are up to speed as much as possible, that they can assist in some of those areas as well.
Deb, do you know, Mr. Chair, Deb, do you know offhand how much it's going to cost?
Yep, I'm looking at it right here. I'm getting it pulled up so I can tell you that information. I have what we've got showing is, I apologize for the delay here. My computer's a little bit slow this morning, but sounds great when we're talking about IT stuff and I'm working with a slow-moving computer. But it's for real. Let's see. We've got a I'm sorry, Nate, are you on the line? Do you have that data right in front of you? Maybe he's not on the line.
I thought he was going to be on the meeting this morning.
2 seconds.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tim.
You know what? Maybe we can just move on to the next item and
I'll come back to it.
We'll find it.
Tim, did you want to add anything, or?
Mr. Chair, typically these run us about $5,000 a piece. I think typically after airfare and hotel and all the other travel accoutrements. Anytime we're going to send someone to a remote conference like this, the expectation is that they're going to bring the materials back and train others, because we can't afford to send everybody who does GIS here to training. And so we have a very decentralized model for training GIS. We have one GIS coordinator for the entire county. Our expectation is that that person's not going to produce maps for everybody. They're not going to go fishing for everybody. They need to teach people to fish. They need to teach people how to produce their own maps. And so we have that one centralized resource that is our expert, and then we try to pepper those skills around the organization so that the highway department can produce their own maps, land services can produce their own maps, the sheriff's office could produce their own maps. It's important to send the one central resource that we have to these types of conferences so that they can stay current on what's the latest and the greatest. We haven't been to one since 2019, and 3 years in the technology field is an eternity. And so we do think that this is a good investment, and our expectation is that when Nate comes back from these conferences, he will gather all of the people who are using our mapping software as a regular part of their work, and he will train them on what he learns.
Thanks,
I
Tim.
do have, Mr. Chair, I do have those costs here as well. The San Diego conference is a total of $1,750. The registration fee is actually comped by Esri, as we are a partner with them, so we don't have a registration fee cost. The flight and hotel, the travel and accommodations is $1,680, and then incidental costs of about $70. So we're anticipating total of about $1,750 for that training session.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Paul.
motion to approve the out-of-state travel.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Barrows. Teresa, would you take?
Commissioner Brecken,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Hogg.
Aye. Motion passes.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Item 7, community services. Let's see, who's on?
Tammy.
Okay. Tammy?
Good morning, Commissioners. Tammy Lloyd, Community Services, Adult Services. I'm here today with two different items. The first one is Better Outlook Minnesota is requesting a letter of need from Crow Wing County as the mental health authority. This is per statute to open 2 intensive residential treatment services in Baxter, which will be named Crow Wing Wellness. Intensive residential treatment services are time-limited mental health services provided in a residential setting. They are 24 hours, and they're for people that are needing structure and assistance with significant functioning deterioration, and which includes psychiatric stability, personal and emotional adjustment, self-sufficiency, and skills to live in a more independent setting. In March of 2021, the Region 5 Adult Mental Health Initiative did determine that there is a need for IRTs, this level of service, to meet the needs of the region. For people who have a serious mental illness or a serious persistent mental illness or co-occurring disorders. Better Outlook Minnesota is proposing 2 of these IRTs facilities in Baxter. The first location is at 14603 Grand Oaks Drive in Baxter, and the second address is 11832 Ironwood Drive in Baxter. It's my understanding that the city of Baxter has inspected both properties and approved the 6 beds in each of these facilities. The facility will serve both males and females 18 years of age or older. They will be licensed by the state of Minnesota. They are requesting that 4 of the beds be crisis residential beds, so there'll be 2 in each of the facilities, the way that I understand it. The state requires the provider request this letter of need from the County Mental Health Authority, which is the county board. If we do not approve it or I guess approve the letter of need, then the state does have the ability to potentially still grant them their license, but they have to meet some criteria, which I had included as part of my request. I'm asking for the county board to approve this letter of need, and I did put a draft letter together for you to look at. If there's questions about the IRTs, Dalton Nessett from Better Outlook Minnesota is on the call and could answer any specific questions you may have about the IRTs facility in Baxter.
Any questions for Tammy? Or?
Well, Mr. Chair, if I can, Tammy, this, again, it's a step-down unit, but it's primarily for, again, local residents that we can keep in our community?
Correct. For sure, we would be utilizing this facility, or we hope that we would. We do have right now, I think I mentioned this last week, currently the 2 IRTs that are in our region, there's one in Wadena and then there's the one in Brainerd. They're both state-operated IRTs, and so people have to be committed typically to access those 2 IRTs. And as you mentioned, Commissioner Brecken, that this is a step down, so potentially if somebody was seen at the emergency department, maybe was may have been on a hold or something, but they felt that this service was needed, a person could go directly to this facility as a step down from the hospital. You don't have to be committed to access this level of service, but the 2 state facilities that are in our region, typically we are unable to get anyone in there unless they've been committed to the state.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion that we approve the statement need letter. that we can go forward with.
We have a motion by Commissioner Brecken,
I'll second that.
second by Commissioner Barrows. Therese?
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Brecken.
Aye.
Commissioner Hall.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Tammy, are you on the next item too?
Yep.
Okay.
So the next item is, it's transitions to community contract. This is something that we've not accessed in the past, but this is a grant award to provide supports and services that allow identified individuals to successfully transition out of either ANOCA or the Forensic Mental Health Program, which most of you know as St. Peter, the Minnesota Security Hospital. We have an individual that has been at St. Peter, and this grant is to cover the cost of transitioning this individual into the community. And we do this, they do this in consultation with us as well as with the team that's working with this individual at St. Peter. So we are looking for approval to enter into this agreement between Crow Wing County and the state of Minnesota, and in the amount of $25,465 to provide the transitional supports and services that are outlined in the grant contract. And as I said, this is a cost that we would be incurring, and then the state reimburses us for this cost. Are there questions in reference to this?
Any questions for Tammy?
Mr. Chair, just a quick clarification. This will help with the individuals who, what do we call it, DMNS or whatever it is, where they don't need the additional services that the ANOCA and St. Peter facilities provide, that they are ready for discharge, they just don't have a place to go. This will help facilitate those costs, because if they stay in those facilities, we pay in the neighborhood of $1,200 to $1,400 a day for their care until there is a place for them. Is that what we're getting at here?
Correct. So what's kind of, when someone's trying to leave St. Peter, this is a person that stepped down their, it's an MIND, so a mentally ill and dangerous person who has gone through the full program at St. Peter and then did the step down, kind of their community transition program. And then just with the logistics of trying to move the individual to the next placement out in the community, which is an adult foster care setting that specializes in this population, you have to work with the special review board to get them released. And so it's just a lot of maneuvering to try to help this individual get out into the community. So it's those transitional costs as we try to discharge this individual from St. Peter.
Mr.
Thank
Chair.
you.
Paul?
Yeah, hey, is it, I guess I'm kind of confused, because when Commissioner Barrows said it was for persons, and you're saying person, so is this for one person, or is it for multiple people that?
This specific grant is for one person that is transitioning to the community from the St. Peter program, and they're ready for discharge. So as Commissioner Barrows indicated, we could incur additional costs if they continue to stay stuck in St. Peter. So we're working to transition them out, and it is for one person.
So then they would be coming back to our community somewhere? In our community.
Coming back, yep, to the community from St. Peter.
Anything else, Paul?
No, thanks,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
So I'll make the motion authorizing entering into an agreement between Crow Wing County and the state of Minnesota, acting through its Department of Human Services, Behavioral Health Division, in the amount of $25,465 to provide transition supports and services as outlined in the grant contract effective February 1, 2022 through December 31, 2022, with the chair authorized to sign said agreement, subject to review as to form and execution by the county attorney.
We have a motion by Commissioner Barrows,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Brecken. Therese?
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Brecken,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
Item 8, what time is it? I can't see. Oh, okay, we're in time. So item 8 is a public hearing. So Do we need, how do we, Tim, are you going to speak towards this, or do you want to bring us up to speed before we?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Paul.
Well, I was just going to make a motion to open the public hearing, but I guess if we want some input beforehand, I'll hold off on that. It's up to you, Mr. Chair.
Either way, I'm fine. Tim, go ahead, and then we'll move into,
Okay, Therese, can you bring up the
where am I?
slides that you have? Also, I think Rob Hall also was going to log in and help me out if need be. Shalisa Lane is in the first assessment district. It's off of Welton Road in the north of Baxter. And the residents came forward, asked to have their road paved. This is currently a gravel road. It was not paved when Welton was upgraded a few years ago. They've now come forward. Here's a good picture. And so following the process, you accepted the petition, I believe, either the last time or a month ago, to set this public hearing to talk about the assessment. So the process is they agreed to assess themselves. And so a petition went around the neighborhood. 8 of the 10 properties signed and agreed to be assessed. And the public hearing today is to hear those in favor or opposed to that assessment. The total assessment is now at, I think it's $46,000. I have it here. The estimated cost of the project is $46,130. We recently bid a large contract where it would be included, so we know the bid price, so it actually came down a little bit. We got some favorable bid pricing. So it's come down a little bit since we last spoke. And today it would, after the public hearing and after you hear from residents who may want to be in favor or opposed to it, asking to adopt a resolution to certify the assessment. And so, and then we'll move forward with construction, and then the final assessment will be tallied after construction's done. But it's going to be really close to $4,600 per resident, so $4,613 currently is the estimate.
Okay.
Any questions before we start?
I think we'll,
Motion to open the public hearing.
motion by Commissioner Coring.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Barrows to open the public hearing. Is there anybody here or online that would like to speak towards this?
I'll need to call the roll first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Brecken?
Aye.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows?
Aye.
Commissioner Hogg?
Aye.
Alrighty.
Okay. Now we would take public comment. Doesn't, is anybody to speak towards this item? I don't. Seeing none.
Motion to close public hearing?
Motion by Commissioner Barrows,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Brecken. Therese?
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows?
Aye.
Commissioner Brecken?
Aye.
Commissioner Hogg?
Aye. All right.
Oh, still the same time.
So
Close the public hearing. Tim, do you
So
have?
enclosed in your packet is a resolution to accept the assessment to get this work done on Shalisa Lane. It will be done this summer with the large paving contract that was just letting you approved in the consent calendar.
I'll make the motion
Move the
to approve moving forward with the resolution as attached to our agenda.
Motion by
Second.
Commissioner Barrows, second by Commissioner Coring. Therese?
Commissioner Barrows?
Aye.
Commissioner Brecken?
Aye.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Hogg?
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Tim.
All right, thank you.
Next item,
Next item.
371.
Yes, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I have one item today. It's the Trunk Highway 210 and 371 intersection improvement feasibility study. So this, I've spoken with a few of you about this. This intersection is under MnDOT's jurisdiction. That's the first thing that you're going to notice about this, and it's not under the jurisdiction of Crow Wing County. However, it is an important part of our network, and either we go through it a weekly, daily basis, or groceries go through there. It's a very important part, and for years since the bypass went through that area in about 2000 or so, so it's been quite a while, 20 years. That intersection's traffic demand has really been growing, and along with that is growing concern over congestion and crashes and things that are happening at that intersection. And that congestion and crashes are concerning, and but it's not on MnDOT's radar screen to be addressed. And I feel that there needs to be a local effort to raise awareness about this so that when transportation funding becomes available, and it's becoming available now more than I've ever seen in a long time, through the federal legislation is starting to trickle down through the state, MnDOT, down to state aid and others, and there'll be some competition for the money at the county level. And I want to make sure that we are prepared to compete. And I don't think MnDOT is ignoring it. It's just they have a lot of priorities, and they have a lot of areas of the state who are well organized. So if you think about the highway or the Interstate 94 Coalition and all the communities along that, they are very active and lobbying with their elected officials and raising awareness with the people at MnDOT, the decision makers there. And so their voice is likely to be heard. We have no voice right now. And MnDOT has to prioritize it amongst so many other priorities. And it just hasn't risen to the surface. And I feel if we don't do some kind of local effort like this, what I'm talking about is a feasibility study funded partially by the county, Baxter has signed on, and then also MnDOT is able to fund certain types of analysis. And so they've agreed to fund a portion of it too. And if we don't do this feasibility study, I think we're just going to continue to fall farther and farther behind and just rely on those traditional ways that MnDOT prioritizes project. And in 10 years from now, 20 years from now, it's still going to be the way it is with a lot more traffic, a lot more crashes, a lot more congestion. And I don't know what the solution is. I think we've talked about it interchange, but there's so many other different technologies out there. We need to find out what's out there and spend a little money to hopefully leverage the $40–50 million that it could take to improve that. We're not proposing to take it on at the county, only to kind of get the grassroots started with their help to get something on paper. What I would like to do is be able to create the report, give it to our elected officials and other decision makers, so when they're competing with their colleagues down in St. Paul or even in Washington, they have the information. They know it's a priority for us. And maybe they can find it sooner than just waiting on the traditional ways that things are prioritized at MnDOT. And so I'm asking for your approval for Crow Wing County to contribute up to $5,000 to join a study with Baxter and MnDOT for sum of just under $22,000 to get some of this preliminary data pulled together, get some drawings together, get some cost estimates, and be able to educate the decision makers on why this is important to our region, and hopefully compete when the time comes. I'll be happy to answer any
Mr. Chair,
questions.
if I might, this falls within my district and Commissioner Franzine's district. I know that this is a dangerous intersection. We see the amount of traffic, particularly in the summer, but even other seasons of the year. It's just awful the way it comes together with the train tracks there and with the heavy use of 210 and 371, and having a lot of the businesses that people want to get to. From Brainerd, they travel out into the Baxter area. This is an intersection that really should rise to a higher level with MnDOT. Unfortunately, it hasn't. There's a lot of competition. I was excited when Tim brought this idea to me that we would start to raise the voice of our area concerning this project. So I think this is a wise investment. I think it's the only way we're going to get on the radar, potentially. We don't even know if it'll achieve that, but I think that this is the first step in attempting to do that. And I think then that the three communities, or not communities, but the two communities plus the county board needs to be on the page of prioritizing this and pushing it with our legislators. I wish now, in retrospect, when we had the meeting with Congressman Stauber, that we had addressed this issue with him at that time. That would have been a great one. We were kind of struggling to find projects that he was asking for, so we should have been a little more upfront or out front on this one.
I'm late to the party, but
right. But
with this.
So I appreciated Tim bringing this out. He's taken the lead on it, and with his past experience with MnDOT, I think he knows exactly the lay of the land and what it's going to take to get this to a level that MnDOT will address that issue out there. So I appreciate everything that you've done on this, Tim, and thank you to Baxter and for their participation in this. But also MnDOT for finding $12,000 that they threw at it. So right. I think this is a great opportunity.
If I can add one thing, I think what's happened over the years is there are a lot of things going on. The railroad is a complicating factor. And, as humans, sometimes we see something that we can't figure out. We just throw our hands in there and go, ooh, we'll never figure this out. Well, I don't believe that. We need to acknowledge that there's a problem, and there are some others too. What happens with Excelsior? How do you get up or down, or how does that work? And how does it work with the other signals out there? That's certainly great questions, but nobody's really looked at it in depth. And we've just said, oh, it's almost insurmountable, so we're going to just ignore it. I don't want to ignore it anymore. I want to get started to identify, root out those challenges, and let's start talking about them and see what some potential solutions are.
Cool. So with that, I would make the motion to authorize the county engineer to enter into the professional services contract with SEH, short Elliott Hendrickson, to complete an intersection improvement feasibility study for the junction of trunk highways 210 and 371 for an amount not to exceed $5,000.
Motion by Commissioner Barrows. Second.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Brecken. Treese.
Commissioner Brecken?
Aye.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows?
Aye.
Commissioner Hogg?
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Tim.
Mr. Chair, before Tim leaves, can you give us an update on the plowing and the roads and the snow?
Sure. We definitely have been challenged by this one. So our snow removal crews, our snowplow drivers are hard at work right now, and they have been since 6 a.m. yesterday morning. I think the total is going to be around a foot or so, and it's blowing around a little bit. And really, this year has been challenging. All these snowfall events seem to fall on weekends or holidays and things like that. And I don't want that to go unnoticed. And they're doing a fantastic job, and I just want to publicly thank them for their hard work and their sacrifice, and their families too. Everybody's coming in every time. We still allow people to go on vacations. We have this gentleman that's on vacation right now, but we have the rest of the crews pick up the slack, and we continue to do the best we can and meet our goals. I checked with both Jory and the front office this morning before I left, and I said, we get any complaints? And the answer was no complaints. And I think part of it is due to how we've communicated on social media about our intent, when to deploy them, so they know when we're going to be out there and when we're not going to be out there. Like yesterday, they started at 6 a.m. and went till about 7, and that's about the maximum. You get to a point where the plow driver is just as dangerous as the snow on the road, and so they need a rest period. And we rested them till 3 a.m. this morning, and then they came back in. So they'll be on till about 3 to 5 this afternoon. Ideally, we were able to pick up both commutes, but again, we have to let these folks rest. They're such an important part of our safety out there. So thank you for asking. They're working harder than I've seen, in terms of the number of times in the last couple of years. We had a little reprieve. This year it's back on. We had one just before Christmas. That was about 18 inches. Now this one's a multi-day event. And so make sure, for those that might be listening or watching, please give them the room to work, stay behind, stay back, give them the room to work. Thankfully, we haven't had any crashes with snowplows or anything like that, but when it's blowing like this, the visibility is really difficult, so please give them the room to work.
Mr. Chair, be sure and pass that message along, how much we appreciate what they are doing. And I know Jory doesn't sleep many nights at all regardless, but, he does a yeoman's job, but then the plow drivers that get out there and do it, we appreciate them, and they just need to know that we're behind them 110%, but we appreciate it. Driving in on 48 today was pretty simple, so I appreciated that. But let them know, please.
I will, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
So one quick thing for Commissioner Coring. Do you have snow down there, Paul?
No, I'm afraid not. Might be a record high, nearing 90 degrees today.
Boy. Well,
Yeah,
I wish
in.
I could send a little bit your way.
I wish you could.
all right.
All right, next on our agenda is land services. Land use map amendment 2 will be,
Oh,
okay.
yep. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I'm probably at my bandwidth maximum here at home with multiple family members using, I think, 4 different devices. So if I start petering out, I'll turn my visual off so you can hear me. So I do apologize, but as long as things are going well, I'll keep this up. But our first request is from Gary and Patricia Height. This is for the address located at 41975 Caraway Road, Emily, Minnesota. And the request is for the county board to amend the official land use map for a part of PID 742-10524 and all of the existing PID 742-20514. And this is labeled as the homestead property on the certificate of survey we received in December, and going from ag forestry to rural residential 10, involving final parcel acreage of 14.96 acres. So thank you, Therese, for putting that up on the screen. As you can see, outlined in red is the subject parcels that are affected by it. The surrounding zoning to the south is our shoreline district zoning, but most of what you can see is ag forestry in the green, and that has a minimum acreage for any new lot of 35 acres. The stuff around that in clear is either tax forfeited or a different zoning jurisdiction outside of the counties. So if we could go to, I think, page 119, that would, I think, be a good place to go next. There we go. So it's a little bit complicated here, but essentially what's happening through a series of splits and consolidations, essentially what the applicant wishes to do is create a new parcel that is in the center of that screen that is sort of shaped a little bit like a triangle. It's got the road to the south of it right in the middle there. And when they create that about 15-acre parcel, that's not going to be at least 35 acres that's needed for ag forestry. And so they're requesting to change that to rural residential 10. And there is already a homestead on that sort of center part of that property with some outbuildings. And all the rest of the parcels you see on that screen are just mostly ag or forest or wetlands and things like that. So they're really trying to consolidate a few parcels and then make one new one that's 15 acres right in the middle there. At the February 10th Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission did unanimously recommend approval, and we didn't receive any comments. And let me just make sure. We didn't receive any comments from anybody. Little Pine Township raised no objections in their comments. So with that, I'll take your questions or look for a motion.
Any questions for Jake? If not,
I'll make the motion to amend the official land use map for part of existing PID 742105524 and all of existing PID 74220514 labeled as homestead property on the certificate of survey received 12/16/2021 from Ag Forestry to Rural Residential 10 involving 14.96 acres.
motion by Commissioner Barrows,
Second.
second by Commissioner Coring. Therese? if you would.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Brecken,
Aye.
Commissioner Hogg.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Jake.
Mr. Chair, with your permission, would it be okay to move item 10.4, which is the Rum River One Watershed One Plan, up to the next spot right now?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Go ahead.
Okay, great. So I'm looking at packet page 240 at this point. Mr. Chair and members of the board, this one's been a long time coming. It's starting in 2018. There was a start of a planning process for the Rum River One Watershed One Plan. So that's been a number of years now. In 2018, as you can see in your packet, the county board supported that with a resolution. We also, in 2019, the county board supported the memorandum of agreement for that same plan. And now we've reached almost the conclusion of that planning process some years later. And just some more background stuff. This involves Mille Lacs, Isani, Sherburne, and 10 separate counties in total, but those are the primary ones. Almost 1 million acres in 10 separate counties. Only about 4.7% of the county is in the Rum River watershed. A while back at the committee of the whole, we agreed that we would only be part of the planning process for this Rum River One Watershed One Plan at the policy committee level. So staff, including myself and Nicole Erickson and others, have not been involved on a day-to-day basis with those meetings and the steering committee meeting, and that's just sort of what we've agreed to. At this point, the plan has been drafted, and the policy committee that was put together, which includes members of each of the counties and each of the soil and water and conservation districts, has agreed that this plan looks good, and they're ready to send it on to the Board of Water and Soil Resources for them to approve it. However, as you know, each county board and each soil and water conservation district technically has autonomy to approve separate items. So what I'm bringing you today is seeking a motion that allowing the policy committee to bring to Bowser directly the draft plan for their approval. So it's sort of asking the blessing that the policy committee gets to do that directly. I have included the executive summary of the over 215-page report. I thought it best to include the executive summary than the entire report. However, it is available online. Again, that One Watershed One Plan is only in the southeastern portion of Crow Wing County, includes part of Mille Lacs, Borden, and some lakes like that. It's primarily a protected area in Crow Wing County. Much of the plan is focused on counties and rivers and lakes further south of Crow Wing County. If it goes to Bowser and they approve the plan, we would then bring it back to the county board within 120 days for the board to adopt the plan officially by each county board. So I know that was a long introduction, but essentially we'd be looking for a motion to authorize the policy committee to submit it forward to Bowser. I'll take any questions anyone has, otherwise look for motion.
Is there any questions for Jake?
If there's no questions, I'd make that motion.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Coring,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Brecken. Therese?
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Brecken,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Hogg.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Jake.
Thank you.
All right, we will move back to the 2022 AIS plan. And who? Okay.
There she is.
Oh.
There she is.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, members of the board. I am excited to present the 2022 AIS plan for you today. We have a few things here. We did put the, excuse me, 1 second. As you know, we did receive a slight increase in our funding this year. The state of Minnesota provides us with approximately $450,000 each year in aid to implement our plan, and we've been getting those funds since about 2014. In 2022, that amount is $462,902, and we are required to update this plan every year. We did put the plan out for public comment, a 30-day public comment period from December 30th through January 31st. In that time, we did receive 4 comments. They are included in your packet, and I'll touch on them in just a second. We also did an online virtual presentation talking about our plan, any changes that we had, and that was presented on January 21st. And we did receive some questions and comments that we took into consideration at that meeting as well. In those comments, there was 4 comments. They were all from homeowners on Gladstone Lake, and they were about their inspection hours. In our plan this year, we did allocate 90 hours to Gladstone Lake, which includes the 3 high-traffic holiday weekends, Memorial, Labor Day, and 4th of July weekends. So we will have inspectors staffed out there on those weekends. Some changes in our plan this year include an increase in the starting wage to $15 an hour, and we're going to standardize all shifts to be 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. in hopes that this will attract more applicants so that we can cover any expanded coverage requests, because I know we fell short on some last year. And then that was our big major changes. We also just want to thank all the lake associations, the DNR, MHB, LIDS, all of them for all their comments, their questions, their feedback on our plan and our planning process this year. We really appreciate that. It helps us make this a better plan for the whole county, because we know we have very passionate groups out there. So we really appreciate that. So that's just kind of the highlights. I'll take any questions or comments anyone has.
Okay, are there any questions?
Mr. Chair, we have 2 commenters, I believe.
Yep, I believe so. The gentleman here in the audience, would you like to speak towards?
Well, the only thing I have to say is we would like to have more coverage at our boat landing, because we have a real pristine lake and everybody wants to use it, and including guide services and you know, we have a lot of usage at that boat landing. If we could get more coverage than just the primary weekends, would really help, because we really don't have a downtime on that lake. So
You need his name.
Can we get your name and address?
Lurby Edminster is my name.
Did you get that, Trees?
Yep.
Okay. So you're, I don't know if Jessica, if you want to respond to his question or concerns.
Yes, I can kind of touch on that. I don't remember if you commented or not, but we did post those online. And I looked at some of the data from the past years. Last year, Gladstone did put in an expanded coverage request. We were not able to meet all the hours they requested. We were able to give them, it looked like 35 hours we were able to fulfill on Gladstone. This is mostly due to the shortage of inspectors we were able to get last year. We weren't able to fulfill all the expanded coverage requests as we would like. And looking at our Explorer model that we use as far as your risk of infestation and then the inspections per hour, we kind of weigh the two to decide how we're going to allocate the hours, and using the data that we had from 2019 and a little bit from 2020. Gladstone fell at 1.37 inspections per hour, and our cutoff was 1.5 to be in that next level of risk. And they were number 57 in the model, so they were pretty far down there. So we're hoping just to get our inspectors out there on those weekends to gather more data on the compliance rates, and then just on the traffic too, to get updated data. And if Gladstone is always welcome to submit another expanded coverage request, and we're really hoping we have the staff this year to fulfill those requests.
Well, it would be nice to do what you can, because we do have a real pristine lake, and it'd be a shame to lose it, so. And we do AIS testing every year on it, so. Fortunately, we've been clean so far, so.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Stepka?
Yes, thank you very much for giving me just a couple of minutes. I'll try to be brief in respect to your busy schedule, and I'd hoped to be up there in person, but I figured it maybe wasn't the best morning to take a drive up to the beautiful lakes area, so I'm here in town, and thank you again. Larry mentioned that a couple of items. We are AIS free. We just think it's critical that we do everything in our power to remain AIS free. We have seen more activity in our access, and of most concern to me are the fishing guides that seem to have discovered Gladstone, as well as we now have a couple of rentals on our lake, which bring more people in and out. They seem to move their boats around from lake to lake, and I think we are more susceptible to AIS spread. We have tried to purchase more time for inspectors, and I know that labor is tight up there like it is here in town. Excuse me. So we really had very little time that the inspectors were out last year. We appreciate the movement a little bit to get our holiday weekends covered, but we just don't feel that that's adequate to protect our lake. And I would just say that our Lake Association has been trying hard to do what's right for the lake. We've done our testing, we've been paying out of pocket for access monitoring, and we are attempting to build up a reserve fund to battle AIS if and when it does occur. And we would appreciate additional support from the county. We think we're doing our part and hope that the county can see to grant us more inspections. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Any other questions, comments?
Mr. Chair, if I could, I'd like to ask Jessica a question.
Absolutely.
So Jessica, what kind of oversight is there on fishing guides and dock services as they in and out of all the different lakes that we have? Does the DNR have oversight with that, or do you know?
Yes, yep. They do have to go through special training with the DNR. They get, I don't know if it's a license or a certification, I don't know exactly, but they do have to go through that, and I don't know if it's every year or not. And that allows them they still have to go through the inspection process, but it does allow them, they cannot enter a water body, but they can leave a water body if they have AIS on their equipment, because then they are allowed to go back to their place of business and clean the equipment off of there. Otherwise, they don't have any other special treatment as far as the inspection process.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, what are the wishes of the board?
I'll make the motion to approve the 2022 Crow Wing County AIS Prevention Plan as submitted.
Motion by Commissioner Barrows.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Brecken. Therese.
Commissioner Brecken?
Aye.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows.
Aye.
Commissioner Hogg.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda, Recreational Use Plan. Ryan.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. What we have here today is an update to 2012 Comprehensive Recreation Plan. Our previous recreation trails plan was more narrowly focused on trails. And so we've made updates as we've added more parks and public water access sites, more recreational facilities in the county to make this more of a overarching recreational use plan. Some of the substantial updates to the 2012 plan include addition of several parks facilities, water access sites, detailed maintenance requirements for all the sites, future trail development plans that were identified by the user groups and clubs, and also an inventory and a replacement plan for all the infrastructure at our parks and access sites. So we have a good idea of what needs replacement moving forward. So with that, I'd take any questions.
Any questions for Ryan?
Mr. Chair, I don't have any questions. I did read through the document, quite lengthy. I appreciate it very much. I think you've done a lot of good work in there, and I am glad to see the expansion of it, since we depend on tourism, and it's imperative that we have trails or at least recreational opportunities for people to come here. The reason they should come here is for those. So I appreciate that very much, and I know you did do a lot of work on this one, so I appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none.
I'll make the motion to approve the attached recreational use plan.
Motion by Commissioner Barrows. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Brecken. Therese, if you would.
Commissioner Coring.
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows.
Aye.
Commissioner Brecken.
Aye.
Commissioner Hogg.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right. Next on our agenda is the sheriff's report. I don't know if
He's not on the line.
Scott's not on.
Mr. Chair, if I can just make one quick remark, I want to thank the Sheriff's Department for the incident that took place last Friday at Hole in the Day. It was an interesting day for travelers in our area, and I know that even with the snowfall that we currently have, that the patrol officers struggle to meet timelines and that for reacting to some of these things, but they do a great job, and I just want to acknowledge that department for all their efforts over there. Thank you. I would guess that 911 is probably pretty busy over there too, so we shouldn't forget those people.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Barrows. Next, County Attorney.
Morning, everyone. I don't have anything specifically for you this morning, but I'm trying to figure out how to get in front of my camera, but I can certainly answer any questions.
Any questions for Don?
Nope.
I figured it out.
Got off easy today.
All right, have a good day,
Thank you.
everybody.
County Administrator.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, there was no senior management team meeting yesterday. We were closed. I do have one item from Sourcewell. It's the annual meeting of the Representative Assembly. It's their annual meeting. We are allowed to send 2 of our current board members to serve at the Representative Assembly. I presumed one of them would be Commissioner Barrows, who just recently got elected to the Sourcewell Board of Directors. If you want to send another one, we can send another one. I need to let them know by March 4th. So I'm just inquiring whether or not there is any additional interest.
Paul, would you be interested? I imagine they can.
Oh, where's it at? Over in Staples or?
Be at Madden's.
Oh, at Madden's. And what's the date?
April 20th. It's at the Town Hall at Madden's. Registration begins at 5. Call to order is at 5:25.
Yeah, I'll be in an airplane on that date, so I won't be able to attend.
Okay.
I would be available.
Oh, okay. So Commissioner Barrows and Commissioner Brecken.
I will reply to them accordingly.
Perfect, thank you. Anything else, Tim?
Happy to answer any questions related to anything about county government.
All right.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion by Commissioner Barrows,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Brecken. Therese, if you would.
Commissioner Barrows,
Aye.
Commissioner Brecken,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all.